Hey guys, I'm back for a little bit before my trip next week to MomoCon, but I thought I would actually let you know I'm doing a little bit better and talk to you guys a little bit. Yep, that's right, it's story time with Uncle Mephi. Wait, you don't want to hear a story? Too bad, I'm telling it anyway. So, this actually tells why I decided to take that time off, and I feel like I'm in a better place to actually have this conversation with you guys. So, wait a minute, I don't think this is the right setting. Give me a minute, will you? So, I feel like I said a little bit ago, I'm in a better place where I can actually talk about a lot of this stuff because let's just go ahead and get the elephant out the room. March sucked. And the moral of the story is love who you have close by because sometimes you don't know how much time you have left, or you can actually be shown just how much time you have left with an individual. But yeah, we're not going to go into detail about names and stuff like that, but just know a lot of heavy stuff happened. So if you don't feel comfortable hearing this, click out of the video, okay? Just going to be straightforward. Click out of the video. There are some funny things that happened, but I'm going to be focusing on mainly the stuff that actually got me to the point where I was not mentally in a good place to actually make anything. And the stuff that I did make, those last 4 videos, that was a little bit around the time when it was happening, and I was trying to keep myself focused on something until the point where I was like, no, just stop. But yeah, so the best place to start is always at the beginning of the story. Around the beginning of March, me and a friend of ours, we lost someone really dear to us, and I'm not going to go into detail about how that happened, but it was just really traumatic to the point where I had to be the emotional support rock for a lot of people. And that usually takes a toll on you because sometimes you can turn it on, but it's hard to turn it off, you know, when you want to be the person that makes sure the other people are okay. And it's never easy. But we lost a really good friend of ours, and it happened in the weirdest way possible. I was supposed to be hanging out with my friend Chucky Cheeks after I got off of work, and we were going to chill because we haven't seen each other in a minute. But then I got some information that told me that our friend is gone. I thought it was just that's not possible, considering the fact that I was just thinking about them, and Chunky Cheeks literally just saw them. So if you're watching this right now, Chunky Cheeks, I'm so sorry, but it did affect me a lot more than I thought it was going to. So that happened. Then following after that, literally the very next week, I got a phone call that Friday from my father. I was at work, I was talking to one of my coworkers, didn't think too much about it. Around 12 that afternoon, he called me, and normally my dad doesn't call me while I'm at work because he wants to make sure that I'm focused on whatever I have to, unless it's something very bad or important that pops up. Unfortunately, it was a mixture of both. So he called me, and his exact words was, "Hey baby, I'm sitting in the ER right now, and I'm not exactly feeling good. I don't know what's wrong, but I know my chest hurts, and I just feel off. I've been here since 8 this morning, and I didn't really get any sleep the night beforehand, just because this weird pain." And I'm like, "Do you need me to come get you?" He said, "I don't know yet, but I'll keep you posted." So that's when my mom was like, so I immediately go talk to my supervisor, let him know what's going on. I told him if push come to shove, if I have to go, I have to go. And of course he was cool about it, which is really cool because most supervisors are just like, rah, 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 rah. But if you have a really good one, just take some time to appreciate it, okay? But anyway, so Later on the day, I'm somehow managed to get through without like having a total breakdown or like panic. I'm thinking it's not that big a deal. Right now, I just have to keep my head straight or keep focused on something until I actually get more news. So as I'm clocking out, my dad calls, said, DL, I need you to come pick me up. I don't feel so good. And I'm like, wait, what do you mean? And he's like, I need you to come to the ER where I am and come grab me because I'm feeling dizzy and I threw up. I'm like, all right, say less. So I find him. He is sitting in his car because I told him, well, actually before that, I told him go back inside so that way they can try to like treat you until I get there. I get there, I go to the back, and I see him laying on one of the gurneys just laying over in the corner, just basically just like, bleh. They literally had my dad in the corner, and before anybody asks which hospital or emergency room, it was Atrium over in Huntersville in Charlotte, North Carolina. But we'll put a pin on that later. So I'm trying to figure out what exactly is going on, and I'm getting irritated because, like I said, he's just sitting in the corner over on a freaking gurney, and I'm like, now it's not the time to get angry. So, of course, make sure he's okay. I get all his stuff, we take my car, and he calls his doctor, and they're like, well, can't you just like point me to the direction of a hospital? They said, oh, we can't do that anymore. We don't call for advance for people. So if you feel worse, just go ahead to the hospital. So the thing about it was, my dad came there because he said he was feeling extreme pains in his chest as well as his wrist. I didn't understand what exactly it was, but he managed to drive himself to the ER that morning. Still surprises me that he was able to do that anyway, but my dad's a freaking mutant. So while all that's happening, I get an email from YouTube about the Kirby video that I posted, and that threw me for a loop because they were talking about, hey, Mind of Mephi Gaming, we would like to inform you that our ID scanner has showed that you have some content that might have belonged to, and I quote, Ryan's World for Ryan and Daddy play Kirby in the Forgotten Kingdom. I'm like, huh? What? And I'm sitting up here looking at my email and my phone. I'm like, I do not have the time for this right now. So I put that in my phone, get him over to the closest hospital I can think of, which happens to be Novant Health Emerges, or they're in the hospital over there. We take him in. I told him wait right here, like go on in, and I'll park the car and I'll be here in a sec. So they take him in. I sit there for a second. I'm not even there for like a good 30 seconds, and they pull me back saying, Mr. Lewis, come on back. I said, okay, cool. So I go back there. My dad's laying on a gurney, and there's like 4 doctors and one dude just standing there like, hi, I'm here for emotional support just in case if calls are ever made. I'm already at this point where I don't know how to feel, and having this dude hovering over me made me to the point where I wanted to punch him. But that's not important. So while they're looking at him, my dad's trying to figure out what's going on. They said, Mr. Lewis, you're having a heart attack. We're like, wait, what? You're having a heart attack. So we're both in disbelief because over at the other place, they said, oh, you just have a pinched nerve. It's okay. And they pumped him full of 2 things of morphine, which is what caused him to get sick in the first place, to the point where he threw up. But the fact of the matter is they misdiagnosed it, and my father could have died is what's really on my mind at that point in time. So I'm getting even more pissed at everything around me to the point where no noise was coming through my head. I see things, but I'm not comprehending them. And my dad is over there in shock to all of a sudden, they said, sir, we need to put a stent into your heart right now. And my dad said, is it really that serious? And they're looking over at me. I said, just do it. He said, are you sure? He said, we need to do this because it'll save your life. Because my dad is not believing the situation. I am not believing the situation at hand. But unfortunately, it had to be that way. So they took him to the back, and then they said, well, we have a waiting room area for you where you can go over and sit down and try to relax. If you need anything, let us know. So I'm sitting there basically in a dark spot, literally and mentally. And I'm just thinking to myself, how the fuck do you misdiagnose a heart attack to a pinched nerve? Because he literally told you he had random pains that he hadn't experienced before and didn't understand it at all. Two, he said his chest and his wrist was hurting. That right there should have been a key factor and let you know, maybe something worse. But no, it's a pinched nerve. You should be alright. You should be able to drive home, after they pumped him full of morphine twice. Yeah, think about that for a little bit. Does that make sense? And not to put anybody else's information on blast, it seems like they were in a hurry to get other patients out of there at that one ER. So I'm automatically not even feeling comfortable there. But now we're back at the present of where I was at that point in time. I'm telling my sister, I'm telling my grandmother, I'm telling my aunt, and everybody else in my circle what is happening at this moment. Because I can't just leave them in the dark. I can't. That's real messed up if I did. Especially considering the fact that I was the only one that had information. But the problem is, I barely had any information. All I know is they took my dad to the back so they could perform a little bit of surgery, so they could put a stent to his chest. And I'm sitting up here. This is around 4 o'clock at this point. I've been sitting in that room for almost like 2 hours and heard nothing. Till around 6:30ish is when I get a call saying, sir, we would like to inform you that your father had to have 2 stents installed. I'm like, okay. The wording also bothered me a little bit because it almost made it seem like he had passed. Or at least that's what my mind was telling me. I'm like, no. Just calm down and listen. There's no point in getting excited right now until we get all the facts. So they said we had to install 2 stents, but unfortunately, the original idea was we were going to have to install one through his arm and go through the vein up to his heart. But we kind of forgot how, and didn't take into account that your father is extremely tall, so we had to go in through the other area. So, what do you mean you had to go in through the other area? We had to go in through the groin. Ooh! Oh! Okay. Not once, but twice. So, yeah, you can, yeah. So, I'm sitting up here like, well, where is he? They said, well, he's in the ICU upstairs, and we have him stable. And at first, like I said, I'm still thinking the way the wording was saying is almost like he had passed. And then they told me, oh, he's still here. They said, where are you, sir? I'm like, I'm down in the waiting room where you left me. They said, we thought you left. I said, why would I leave? Not important. Yes, can some, so they found me. They took me upstairs. They said, he's doing all right. He's stable. But unfortunately, we have to tell him he cannot move until midnight. So he's going to be laying there for a while. And he cannot move. We also are going to have to put a catheter on him so he can go to the bathroom if he needs to. I'm like, alright, cool. It's no big deal. So, I'm sitting up here just exhausted and drained while my dad is laying in the bed next to me, just plugged up to every single machine that can actually get attached to him. And you never think of how terrifying that is until you also remember, wait a minute, this is the exact same hospital where I lost another family member. So again, in my head, I'm not okay. So I sat there and I gave everybody an update, let them know he's fine, he's stable, but unfortunately he's going to have to stay basically strapped to the bed until later on tonight. And it's just, that was a very terrifying ordeal. And I'm calling everybody left and right, letting them know my dad's fine. He's out of the thick of it, and I'm just over here trying to calm my nerves. But unfortunately, support mode is cranked to 11 at this point, and it's not coming off anytime soon. So I ended up staying the entire night because of course I would. It's my dad. And I called my friends, a lot of my friends and family that actually are in my major part of my circle. They were like, oh my God, is he okay? I said, he's fine now, he's stable, he's finally sleeping. Because another thing about it is my dad never sleeps like a normal person, unfortunately. He's been dealing with a lot, and I mean a lot of stuff over the years, like high blood pressure, sleep apnea, and stress and stuff like that. So for him, getting a normal thing of sleep is actually almost impossible from time to time. But for the first time in years, he was actually at peace, and I was like, I don't want to wake him up, so let's just let him rest. So then he finally did wake up, and he was like, I gotta go to the bathroom. We're like, no, it's fine. Just stay with you. He's trying to get up. He's like, Mr. Lewis, you can't get up, because if you do, you'll reopen your stitches. He's like, okay, but I gotta go to the bathroom. We put the condom catheter on. He's like, his exact words was, when the fuck did you do that? I said, yeah, he's fine. So after that, he's been laying around, and he started talking again, and you can tell when he's like really nervous, because he'll start to talk a lot. And my dad's already a talker anyway, but to the point where he's like, and won't stop. But to be fair, he has every right to be, because he's still trying to figure out what happened, where exactly, and so on and so forth. But I asked him how he was. He said, this is going to sound really funny, Mephi, but for the first time in years, my heart feels fine. I feel good despite everything happening. And it's weird, because this is not the first time my dad's had like a major thing to happen to him and he shook it off, or at least tried to act cool about it, because we found out a long time ago he had a stroke and didn't even know it, and his heart's been enlarged ever since, which is terrifying when you think about it, but it never really affected him. Plus, him being a former UPS driver and other stuff, he had a lot of high blood pressure issues already as it is, because people say that being a delivery man is not that big a deal, but when you have to make deadlines and do like so many things on set, so little time from time to time, as well as other shits that has occurred in our life, it takes a toll on me. And I'm just glad that he was able to walk away from this. But of course, he was walking away from it extremely pissed off. And he's managed to, he's safe now, but like I said, I got to the point where I didn't want to try and force myself, because I was basically pushing myself to the point where I had to keep my mind preoccupied in doing something, and so I could actually make sense of things. But the problem is, I got to the point where I was doing so much and forgot to actually do for myself. And it got to me. But that's not even the weirder thing that happened. Don't get me wrong. The thing that happened with my dad, that still has to be shaken a little bit. But let's talk about something a little more lighthearted, shall we? Remember the email that I mentioned about YouTube and Ryan's World thing? About that. So, as you're aware, the Kirby video that I made went up, I want to say, the week after everything happened. And yeah, let's talk about that for a little bit, because surprisingly it did pretty well, because I was not expecting it to get over like close to like 470 views, which, wow, by the way, thank you for that. I guess I know what I'm going to be doing after when I come back, but yeah. So when I got that email, like I said, I was already in a bad spot, because it feels like everything that could happen was happening at that point. And I got that email and I pushed it off, because I said I'll just worry about it when I get home, because unfortunately YouTube mobile doesn't exactly show you the information until you actually get to your desktop, so you can like look at exactly what they're talking about. I'm like, okay, cool, no big deal. So after I leave my dad that Saturday morning around 10ish or so, I go run some errands that I couldn't run that Friday, and then go home, get on my computer, and look at the email. And they said the Kirby video that I made had footage from Ryan World's video in it as well. And I'm like, huh? Now, here's where things get interesting. I recorded the footage on. Actually, it's better to actually pull it up because I can actually like look at it instead of trying to like guess off the top of my head. Forgive me for this. So, I made the footage and recorded everything on the 12th of March at 1:11:15. All right, that was on a Sunday. I recorded the footage. That's when what I do is I'll record it with OBS and then sound mix it with a couple other things. Then after that, when I did my sound mixing for that one, that was the same day, about the last thing that was updated was like about a couple minutes afterwards. That's after I finished everything. So then I ended up editing and make the whole video on the 14th. Well, actually I started on the 12th, but then it got finished on the 14th. But I ended up editing again on the 18th, which was that Saturday. So here's the thing. I had the video already uploaded. Everything was fixed, everything was fine, and before you can actually make sure you can actually get everything copacetic with the video, it goes through some checks like copyrights and stuff like that. Everything in the video was green, was copacetic, and everything was fine on the 14th. The 17th, that's when I got the email saying that, hey, it shows you have some footage from said flagged by content ID from Ryan World with Ryan and Daddy play Kirby and the Forgotten Lands. I'm like, what? So I go through and I'm sitting there thinking to myself, they don't even have a video up for that yet. That was still that Friday. The next morning, after I look at it and look at the email, that video went up 4 hours after I got home. And I'm like, if it thinks that I copied it, my video went up first. Everything was copacetic. Then all of a sudden, theirs went up. I had to get hit with the ID copy. I'm like, what? So, I looked at it, and I looked at the footage. Mine has straight gameplay plus my face over in the corner, like it normally does. Theirs had a skit and then gameplay footage. The thing that probably flagged it was right when you get to Waddle Dee Village, or right when you see the Waddle Dees being attacked by the crows with the cages. And the only other thing I could think of that make the system would think that I copied his is both of us had Bomb Kirby on. And it was right after we jumped out the car for him. So I'm like, okay. And I also thought, what if maybe the sound that I used earlier that had some issues with that too? No. Nothing at all. It wasn't the sound file that I used, or it was just that the scenes lined up a little too close to each other, despite the fact that there was deviations in his showing from him and his dad to then the gameplay. Me, it's just straight gameplay. But for some odd reason, the system tagged me and said that I had copyright stuff on it. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, fine, then I'll just appeal it. Then I thought, oh wait, what if I can escalate it? Because it says 30 days for the regular appeal and 7 days for the other one. However, then I looked at it more and said, if it's found that I'm guilty of plagiarism, they could take my entire channel down with the 7-day version. So I'm like, okay, fine, I'll go with the 30-day one. So I go and I peel everything, and I told them that it was fair use. I didn't use theirs. Everything than mine was fine. Plus, YouTube even said that I was okay beforehand, and I even showed receipts when I made my footage and stuff like that. Then I'm thinking to myself, this is going to probably take a while. I know, I'll just get in contact with Ryan and his dad. Maybe that'll make things easier. YouTube doesn't make it exactly easy for people to get in contact with other creators unless they're actually cool with each other. So I'm sitting up here still panicking like, okay, now what do I do? Oh, I get it. I'll go to I'll contact them on Twitter. This shouldn't be an issue. That was one of the biggest search mistakes that I could make in all of this. So I go on Twitter and I type in Ryan's World. Don't think too much about it. Then all of a sudden I start seeing things that's going to make this video very explicit. So I'm going to try to keep it as best as possible low. So I'm going through it and I'm looking for Ryan World, and I keep seeing little racist cartoon versions of Alvin and the Chipmunks doing blackface. I'm like, the fuck does this have to do with Ryan? Okay, keep going. I see cartoon versions of Ryan saying, or at least someone edited to make it seem like he was saying very racial things. I'm like, this is getting me nowhere. Then it shows me one where it showed a transgender woman just... How do I say this without getting in trouble worse than I possibly already am? Doing things that they're not supposed to be doing on a camera unless they have... You actually pay for it. So I'm seeing that and I'm like, what the fuck? So I'm still looking, trying to find Ryan's World text. I keep scrolling. I see Ryan's Trans World. I'm like, oh, I do not have time for this. Till eventually I find Ryan World's father's page, and I'm thinking, oh, thank God. So I sent him a lengthy email, and it wasn't like anything evil or heinous or anything like that. I just told them straightforward what happened, showed them screenshots of everything that I did, and even told them about the appeal and stuff like that. And I was very sincere. I was like, if you can help me with this, cool. If not, I completely understand. The game channel that I have is Mind of Mephi Gaming, and I even told them about the whole content ID thing. So I sent that. I closed Twitter. I probably should have deleted the app, but unfortunately I don't, because I still can use it from time to time. Then I went to sleep, because I knew later on I was going to go ahead to see my dad again after I got some rest, because that was kind of the whole point, because he said, go home, get some rest, and because you've been here for an entire night, and I know you are not comfortable sleeping in that recliner. That recliner sucked, by the way, but yeah. So after that, I woke up hours later. I drove back to the hospital to see my dad, and my sister and her fiance were there. They're sitting there watching John Wick, so I'm like, cool, everything's alright. I sit down, he's like, you alright? I'm like, not really, but I'll manage. And we started talking for a little bit, and then he's like, baby, go home. Go get some rest. You still seem tired. I'm like, you sure? He said, go home. I'm like, alright. So I go home, check my phone, and check the video is unlocked and ready to view on the scheduled time that I had it scheduled. And it said in the email, good news, Mind of Mephi Gaming. Your video has been unlocked and your appeal has been approved. I threw my phone across the room and told myself, I'm going to bed. So that happened, and Christ almighty, that was a lot. And that's just all the stuff that happened in March. There's stuff that happened in this month that I'd rather not get into detail about, that also made me think, why? But I'm here, I'm a little bit stronger, I'm a little more confused by certain situations, but I know there's certain things that I can't control. But at the end of the day, I'm back, I'm doing a little bit better. I have some stuff planned for when I do my full return. Next week I'm going to do try to show off a little bit of live stuff, but if I don't, I'm probably going to make a compilation video the week after, so that way you can guys see all the stuff that I was up to while I'm at MomoCon. I'm going to be there with Hotep Rangers, which is going to be Dapper, Kang, and Vin, plus Faceless Massacre. He's going to be there with us too, and another one of our homies. Plus, if I get a chance to, I'm probably going to bump into Mistress Dove and hang out with her for a little bit. So yeah, be on the lookout for what I have in store for that, as well as something else. You've all heard of the game The Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog, right?